Hello, welcome to today's gameplay video of Rakdos Leyline. We are going to jump directly into the gameplay, but there are chapters in the video and a deck tech at the end. So if you want to check that out, feel free to skip around, but we are going to get right into the gameplay. We're going to kick it off with a sweet game where well, if you're looking at the video, you probably aren't thinking that it's going to be a sweet game for me. I have 0 creatures on board. I am at 7 life, and my opponent is attacking for one, two, three, 4. That would be 8. So I'm in trouble. I look pretty dead. Except we are going to really maximize the text on some of our cards. You can see Arena is actually confused as to what I'm doing. It's saying, "Are you sure you want to target Fairy with Turn Inside Out?" And I am. I've targeted my opponent's untapped creature with Turn Inside Out. This is a weird play, but Turn Inside Out doesn't care whether it's my creature or my opponent's creature. If that creature dies, I'm the one who gets to manifest Dread. So I start by buffing my opponent's creature so that then I can kill it with Desperate Measures. This is a flexible and fantastic card that we get to run in Rakdos Leyline, which we're typically using to buff our own creature and draw cards. But in this case, the card is really living up to its name. These are desperate measures. I have now spent my two of my best cards on my opponent's creature by casting Turn Inside Out, and then Desperate Measures on their creatures. So these two ley lines in play aren't doing anything, but Desperate Measures does resolve. It kills my opponent's creature, and I get to manifest Dread. So now I have a blocker, and it went by pretty quick. But I chose Rot Curse Rakshasa as my manifested creature. So for 2 black mana, I'm going to be able to flip this 2/2 into a 5/5 with trample, if I survive that long, right? I'm only at 7 life, so I have to block now. Which the great thing is I get to go to blocks. This has been a long, grindy game. My opponent has cast a lot of removal spells, and so I'm able to go to blocks. And then, before blocks, I have 1 mana left. So finally, after casting 2 buffs on my opponent's creature, I get to point one at my own creature. And I cast Full Bore, of which I get 3 total copies of. And so we're going to see my 2/2 go all the way up to a massive 11/8. And that's on blocking duty to keep me alive. And so now my face down Rakshasa survives. And my opponent taps out. They flash in Enduring Curiosity to draw 4 cards, which is, very alluring. But my opponent my opponent is now dead, as you all catch up and see, but my opponent is going to take infinite damage. They draw 4 cards. I get to untap. So let's recap real quick. I had an empty board and my opponent was attacking for lethal. Turn Inside Out, Desperate Measures, their only blocker. Give myself a 2/2. Full bore my 2/2 to turn it into an, what was it? An 11/8 blocker. So we use Turn Inside Out, Desperate Measures, and Full Bore just to survive. We use 3 proactive, I want to kill my opponent's spells to survive. And now my opponent's tapped out. So what do? We flip over Rakshasa, we cast Wild Ride, and unfortunately my opponent concedes. After this epic ending, they don't even let me finish it. But for fun, let's take a look at the math. My 5 power trample creature is going to get +3/+0 3 times. So 5 plus 9 is 14. And then we're going to double that 3 times when we cast Bulk Up, targeting Rot Curse Rakshasa. So that 14 becomes 28. That 28 becomes 56. and that 56 becomes 112. And so we're coming in with 112 trample damage. Um, when on our opponent's turn we had 0 creatures in play and they were attacking for lethal. Um, so pretty fantastic and exciting turn of events. Just one of many examples where, you know, Leyline can just win from anywhere. This Rakdos Leyline deck, it's not uncommon at all that I feel completely defeated, but I stay in the game. I make the plays I have to make to stay alive or give myself an opportunity to win. And sometimes, man, oh man, do you just win? This attack for over 100 with trample after previously having a completely empty board is pretty nasty. Uh, so yeah. Anyway, on to the next two matches. I'm sorry, which are full matches, not just highlights. On to the next. Alrighty, let's kick it off. We're gonna shock in Blood Crypt. The plan is to play Headliner, then play Rakshasa. So we're gonna take 2 damage, casting those 2 spells. If I started with Starting Town instead, I would take 3 damage. So there's no real reason to do that. I take 1 damage from Starting Town on turn 1. And then I would take 2 damage when I have to shock in Blood Crypt, so no need for that. Alright, getting thoughts eased. Our hand is pretty good, so not too broken up about that. Opponent decides to take Sellsword. This is kind of an interesting spot. I kind of don't want to cast Bulk Up yet. So I'm actually just going to attack for 2. Deal 2 damage. And then I just get to draw 2 cards. And since I'm drawing 2 cards, I should not have played this Restless Vents pre-combat. I got a little ahead of myself. But ultimately, I'd rather have Vents in play than another Starting Town, so it's not a big deal. Like, if I waited and played Starting Town, I'd still have 2 tap lands in my hand. So now I just have a better land in play. I think that's fine. Oh, that's nice. Okay. Well, any pump spell would be epic. Alright, there we go. There's a lot of ways we could kill our opponent. I'm gonna do it this way. There's no scenario where I have 4 mana. So I guess maybe there's not a lot of ways we kill our opponent. Maybe that was the only way. Yeah, I only had access to 3 mana. That was definitely the only way that we kill our opponent with 3 mana. I would be lying if I said I was 100% sure what my opponent is playing here. I do think this is a known deck, but I don't know which one it is. Like specifically. Doesn't appear to be Graveyard or ETB. You don't want Torpor Orb against Elementals, because then while you deny the ETB, you allow them to just like 2 mana, they have an Elemental. No reason to consider Requiting Hex. Did look a bit more control-y, like Duress is probably the only card I would consider here. Like Duress and Preacher are definitely considerations, but with Leyline, less is more. Off the cuff, like against black base removal, Full Bore, I generally think is my worst card. If Not Dead After All was Wild Ride, which it is on Moxfield right now, then that would be maybe worse, but I think I'm just going to resubmit. But game 3, there's a good chance I end up bringing in Duress. I think Duress is probably just the move. I'm also considering, especially with these elementals, playing the 1-mana discard spell that hits a creature or an artifact. I always forget the name, but it hits the creature or artifact and then it exiles it. That card seems pretty good right now. Definitely a consideration. One land, Blood Crypt. I mean, these cards are all really exciting together, but it's a one-lander. I think these cards being exciting is more just like, oh yeah, there's good cards in the deck. I don't really want to go to 5. And now at least I have a 1-mana creature, so I'll keep this one. We'll start with Hard Claw and see what happens. Against black base removal, Turn Inside Out and Desperate Measures are treated a lot like protection spells, at least as much as they are treated like proactive spells. So in a perfect world, I would really have considered not casting the Hard Claw in that spot. But doing nothing is never really a good plan, and since at the time I didn't have my second land, that play looks pretty bad because I don't have a good line of sight on putting myself in position to cast and protect the Hard Claw. Here, though, I'm very excited. No matter what, I'm either making 2 guys or I'm making a guy and drawing 2 cards. Unless my opponent goes land Requiting Hex. Oh, no. Okay. They didn't go land Requiting Hex, so that's good. We are stopped in my upkeep for some reason. Don't love that. Okay. Let's attack. No response to the Decayed trigger. Okay, my opponent appears to be F6, so we are gonna deal 11. Make 2 guys. We'll go with the Leyline and ooh. Definitely Slick Shot here. What do you got for me, opponent? Oh. Oh, darn. Wait, did he spend black? Ugh. What is this? This creature enters at blue spent. Oh, blue bounce a guy. Black. So he spent blue black on Spider-Man. So he bounced my guy and discarded a card. This is Slick Shot. So I can flip it and deal 6. But that's not lethal. I'm actually gonna use Rod Curse's ability here. I just think putting my opponent to 3 there doesn't feel very good. Maybe it's the move because with an untapped land I just play Leyline and kill them. But I kind of don't want them to know that this 2/2 is a Slick Shot, is where I'm at the moment. I would rather them not know that. And once again, this wouldn't be lethal, so I'm just going to play patient. No problem, buddy. You got it. They know that Full Bore and Leyline are in my hand because they thought seized me and they bounced the Leyline, so no reason to like tap the mountain here and leave Starting Town untapped to threaten both colors. If they didn't know these 2 cards, though, I would do that. Cool. I'm definitely casting Full Bore here and trying to win the game. Feels like my window is pretty quickly closing. Wow. Okay. No response. Rakshasa is just so good and so big. So Desperate Measures is actually lethal here, which is pretty cool. Alright, nice. Nice. It was a sweet match. We didn't sideboard. Because it's Leyline, baby. If I had played Duress and drawn Duress, then I hit one of the Requiting Hexes, which is not bad. But it would have been Duress instead of, as I was saying, I would have played it over Full Bore. So if Full Bore had been Duress, I don't know if I win that game. My opponent did end the game at exactly 0. But I was set to draw 2 cards here because of the Desperate Measures. Definitely would have been interesting, but ultimately, you know, killing our opponent sooner is always better. You don't want to give them a chance to do something broken or unfair. You know, you never know what happens in a game of Magic. The more turns go, the crazier things can get. So I'm glad I did not board out my Full Bore and just said, I'll just kill my opponent. All right. I would love to go first. Oh, this is so tempting. Because we have Leyline Rakshasa Bulk Up, which is just lethal. Oh. Golly, I wanted to keep that so bad. This is obviously a safer hand. And we'll bottom... Blazemire Verge would be offline, so we're going to bottom that. Vents tapped, go ahead. I really wish this Slick Shot was a Rakshasa, but that's okay. We'll get the town out of our hands, that's fine. And right now, Not Dead After All is competing with Wild Ride, so we'll have to keep track of whether or not that would matter. This sucks because my opponent's probably going to cast Abandoned Attachments, but I don't really feel like I have good tools to challenge them here, so you can... Alright, nice. So they didn't have something proactive to do with their mana, so that's nice. This is definitely an interesting spot. I'd really love to get this Leyline in play so that Desperate Measures kills Slick Shot. Because then I could go like turn inside out, Desperate Measures, Not Dead After All. Like I could do all the things. This hand without a Leyline is like, can't really do any of the things. Okay, interesting. Are we gonna like Spider Sense the trigger? Oh, Splash Portal. Okay, that's sufficiently annoying. But to be honest, now we just cast all our spells and profit, so... this is like not bad at all, actually. Great. So turn inside out is already enough for a trade. And then Not Dead After All says I get my Slick Shot back, which is pretty cool. And Slick Shot will have 3 toughness. And then Desperate Measures says draw 2 cards. I'll probably hold on to that for now. I can cast it in response to a removal spell, potentially. Yes, I won't reveal a Leyline to my opponent. So that wasn't terrible. My opponent does have 7 cards in hand. That's not ideal. Another one. Back-to-back scammed Riddlers is pretty hard to beat. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty hard to beat. That's not enough, is it? This is 5, 6, 7, 14. So we just plot Slick Shot. Really wouldn't mind if my opponent casts a damage-based removal spell. Drawing 2 cards here feels pretty good. I really want to put that Leyline into play and kill my opponent. Drawing Starting Town as the land in my end step is super annoying. Drawing Burn Together is nice. So, like, Slickshot goes up to 4. And then 8. So this would be 18 if this Slickshot was unblocked. Let's not forget I do have a plotted Slickshot. Okay, so that Slickshot's gone. So I just have the plotted Slickshot. What is this? Okay, that's fine. Opponent has 3 cards left. Still a lot. I feel like our opponent's draw has been pretty fantastic, and we're still in this game. So that's cool. Drawing another tap land is not cool. So Slickshot bulk up. Slickshot goes to 3, then it goes to 6. So we deal 6 in the air, and then we fling it for 8. That doesn't do it. Yeah. Really wish we had an untapped land. There were only, what, of the 17 lands left in our deck, 5 were tap lands? And we drew 2 tap lands. Putting Leyline into play, I feel like there's a lot of situations where I win next turn. Now I have to find a buff spell in order to have a chance to win. But that's fine. We've spent 1, 2, 3 out of our 12. So there's 9 buff spells left. Nine is a lot. Wow. So they're completely tapped out. That's pretty bold. Splash Portal. And Boomerang Basics. Man, if we had just been able to play the Leyline, we would have just won this game. But we got 9 outs minimum. Like 9 outs off the top of my head. I don't think this is lethal. Especially since I don't have 5 mana. 7, 8. They took Boomerang, Splash Portal. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm dead if I don't kill them. Slickshot, the prowess trigger from bulk up makes his power 3. It doubles to 6. Then when I fling him, he deals 8. That's 14. Yeah, any buff spell would have done it. If we had an untapped land, Eh. Well, there were a lot of inflection points there where, despite our opponent kind of doing all the things they want to do, we definitely could have won that game. Kind of want to play Duress. I definitely want to play Duress. And my opponent playing Torch really takes a lot of the air out of Not Dead After All, as well as Turn Inside Out and Desperate Measures. Torch turns off all of those spells. So Not Dead After All is the worst of those spells. I'm definitely taking that out. And I might take out a Desperate Measures, I suppose. I'm sure my opponent is playing 4 Torch the Towers, so I suppose those are my worst cards in the matchup. This is a great hand. We get to start with Leyline Duress, look at our opponent's hand, draw our next card, decide if we want to play Rakshasa or Slickshot. Or our opponent mulled to 4. I guess this isn't going to be that interesting of a game. I could eat those words, but I guess it's a counterbalance for them having everything they wanted game 1. Let's take a look at the 4 cards they kept. See if we can snipe a Talon or a Splash Portal, a Braid. Sure. Love taking a removal spell. If we don't draw a if we draw Turn Inside Out or Desperate Measures, I'll play Rakshasa. Since we didn't, I'll just we're still gonna plot Slickshot. Now Burn Together is lethal, and since we have the 3rd land, Bulk Up is also lethal, so we have 6 lethal plays. Opponent did not play their Thunder Trap. We'll just play our guys and pass. No reason to get cute here. I think the chances of our opponent bluffing is really low. I don't think on a mull to 4 you can afford to like not cast your Thunder Trap, so I'm gonna say there's a really, really good chance that they drew some kind of removal spell. Splash Portal, not bad. Spring Leaf Drum. Alright, now we're cooking. I'll play the 6-shot because... Oh, okay. Spell Snare. Nice. So this is 6, 12, 19. Doesn't actually matter what we target with our spells in this scenario. As long as we use Turn Inside Out on either Rakshasa or the Mobilized token, the outcome is the same. I guess the one difference is, and it doesn't matter in this scenario, but there are scenarios where it might matter. Rakshasa dies at the end of combat, whereas the warrior token lasts till end of turn. So if I were casting Desperate Measures, I would rather hit Rakshasa so that I can draw the cards before main phase 2 and potentially play a land in main phase 2 or play a creature, like I can play sorcery speed cards that I draw off of Desperate Measures by targeting Rakshasa. Turn inside out, it really matters a lot less though. Yeah, obviously opponent mulled before, so nothing all that interesting here. Our hand was good, shaped up nicely. Rakshasa is a real like beast in this against these red decks because there aren't particularly cheap spells that will kill Rakshasa in red, and people are quite low on Flood Maul these days. There's a lot more boomerangs than Flood Mauls. And yeah, I mean, I think I feel good about the way I sideboarded. I'm not going to spend a removal spell on their tiny dudes. It's not a Lantern matchup. It's not an... I mean, Torpor Orb does turn off Thunder Trap. Like, turns off their card advantage, but that feels less important than just killing them. And Preacher seems pretty mid here. I'm sure it's hard for them to remove, but it doesn't really kill them fast enough and gets stonewalled by... This hand is super mid. I kind of want to mulligan this. Like, what am I doing with this hand? Turn 1 tap land, turn 2 Rakshasa, turn 3 deal 6 draw 2, play Hired Claw. It's not bad, but it's not broken. I guess I'm gonna keep it. It feels like this is a good hand. It's just not a great hand. Like in Modern, I think I would... Well, it would be matchup dependent. I feel like there's a lot of spots where I mulligan this in Modern. This type of hand, I mean. Does this change my play? I think it does. So the reason I was originally going to start with the tap land is because if I started like this and then didn't draw an untapped land, I would be in this awkward spot where I have no plays on turn 2. Now I can spend my mana on turn 1 and turn 2. So I think I'd rather fire off a creature on turn 1. Yeah, Hard Claw would have been better. Our opponent is doing the thing. Don't like that. Let's see, they got Splash Portal and Ill-Timed Explosion. Yeah, this isn't looking good. I just kind of had a gut feeling about this hand that, like, I needed something a little bit more broken for this matchup. It feels like my opponent just has so much card advantage. I really need to go fast. You know, here my opponent is scamming turn 3 Riddler again. I guess I understand why they mulled to 4. deck is definitely trying to do something very specific. Obviously powerful when they do the thing, but well, like most of standard, it's a pretty it's like a combo deck disguised as a fair deck. Like, look at me, I'm playing blue red and tempo spells and removal spells and draw spells, but it's really just a combo deck playing Splash Portal over and over again. It's quite annoying. The 4th Splash Portal. Love it. They're gonna hit me for 4 and Splash Portal Quantum Riddler. That's crazy. Yeah. So that's 3 mountains in a row, which is cool. I'm just gonna attack with Rakshasa. Try to draw 2 cards. This also sets me up to potentially decay the Riddler. They have 7 cards, so I don't know that really matters, but let's draw a couple cards. We gotta find something. Oh, he's got the Flood Maul. Deal 4 damage. Natch. Alright. We still draw 2. LOL. That's a pretty mediocre draw. So they have Explosion, Snare, Boomerang, Gift a card, counter target creature spell. What do we even take? It doesn't matter. This game is over. Definitely I should have listened to my instincts and mulliganed that hand to look for something more broken or aggressive. That hand was like, oh, lands and spells, these are good cards. But it didn't threaten to kill my opponent particularly efficiently, so. I know better than to keep hands like that. I'll play the 5th land and also, oh no, he was untapped because of thing. So we made him discard one of these. He played this, so we know about Snare and Seer. Yeah, dude, if this is what you want to like use your seer on, that's fine. Especially since it'll tap you out and I can resolve my slick shot. Okay. So my opponent has Spell Snare and Seer. I don't want to put Slick Shot on the stack, so let's just put a Decayed counter on Quantum Riddler. That's their only clock right now, so they can put me to 8, but they'll need to find some other way to deal the rest of that damage. That's fine. So they spent the Seer. They can Boomerang Riddler back to their hand, but they don't have a scam for him, so... Alright, they Boomerang him back. Jeez, they're up to 7 cards. So, well, there's no Splash Portals left in the deck. So they gotta have Spider Sense if they want to scam him. And given that they just attacked with Thunder Trap Trainer, I feel like there's a good chance they have the Spider Sense. So they want to go Warp, Return to Hand. Okay, Torch is fine. Blood Crypt. Adios, mijo. So what do we play the mountain, we fire this up, we go black, red, red, we discard the Blood Crypt. Oh, that's something. I don't really want to do nothing. But I don't really want to cast any of these spells either. So I guess we do nothing. We can just yield all. Boomerang on Thunder Trap. Torch the tower. Okay. They could bargain away their Springleaf Drum if they want. Yeah, there's nothing I can do about that. Well, if they want to spend the snare here, then so be it. I gotta get that out of here so I can cast this Slick Shot at some point. Maybe Snare was the take on that Duress. I was just kind of looking at Ill-Timed Explosion, which they don't have to discard the 2. It can just be a draw 2, and I didn't want to get buried in that card advantage. Is this lethal? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 1 land short of lethal? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wow. After all that. Is there any universe where they don't block my slick shot? Oh, this sucks. Am I going to get a better chance to win this game, though? That's the question. I don't think I am. I think I just, like, super casually attack for 1 and see what happens. Dang. Well, bulk up still trades. I feel like on average, making the play where you kind of hope your opponent doesn't block is wrong, but also with this counterspell and the explosion, they were finally tapped out. Man. 1 mana short. Black, red, red. Alright. We get to turn it sideways this time. Nice. Not bad. Okay. I guess maybe that was the punish for never plotting this slick shot. And just there's a chance they don't tap out if the slick shot's plotted. But I probably should have thought about that earlier. I do now have the line where I can just turn inside out and fling the restless vents, potentially. What is this? Okay, that's fine. So opponent has Long River's Pull, Ill-Timed Explosion, and 2 unknown cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we're going for it. If this is Long River's Pull, nice. I think we're gonna win this game. It's kind of insane. Yeah, we gotta go for it. Oh, I'm just like sweating bullets here. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I tried to type GG's, but it didn't work. Wow. What a game. What a game. Dude, quadruple splash border. I was thinking about scooping him up. How about that Restless Vents? Oh my gosh. I mean, definitely in hindsight, my duress was wrong, and maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I should have plotted Slickshot. Restless Vents. We discarded 2 lands, drawing cards. We went for it. The downside was, Slickshot got eaten, but we at least traded off with the Slickshot plus bulk up into the. Wow. Oh my gosh. What a game. We ate the spell snare with the earlier sellsword. Oh my. Wow. That was really satisfying. That was really satisfying. Nice. Nice. All right. Yeah, let's go. Let's look at the deck list, I guess, because this is gonna wrap up the video. So I feel like this view is not very good, actually. Let's go to MTGO and look at it in the collection. So, Rakdos Leyline. Obviously, we are playing Leyline of Residence, and as is pretty typical, we're playing 20 lands. 4 Starting Town, 4 Blood Crypt, 4 Blaze-Mire Verge, 2 Restless Vents, and 6 Mountains. Blaze-Mire Verge is base black, which can sometimes be annoying, but we do have a pretty decent amount of black cards, especially when we utilize our sideboard. And so it's not too bad, especially with 4 Blood Crypt and 6 Mountain being 10 lands that turn on the Verge. And then I pretty much always throw a pair of creature lands in. I don't really have to convince you how good they are because you have made it to the end of this video, which means you watched you watched that last game, which was pretty nasty. Let's pull out our creature core. We've got Headliner and Hired Claw at 1 mana, and then we've got Slickshot and Rutgers Rakshasa at 2 mana. Headliner is a Leyline staple. It has been since rotation. Alex McIsaac, I think, was the first one to actually play it and get a result with it. But yeah, the key here is mobilize 1, and that creature sacrifices itself, which makes turn inside out really good. And you're especially excited to do that when you go turn 1 Leyline, Stadium Headliner, so that on turn 2, your turn inside out, makes 2 dudes, deal 7 damage. Multiple Leylines or multiple turn inside outs. That's your most broken potential turn 2 play. He can also be a removal spell in a pinch. Nick and I laugh about Stadium Headliner is kind of like Cacophony Scamp, except way worse. It's like Scamp was also a removal spell and it could also sacrifice itself, but obviously the death trigger made Scamp insane. But Headliner does a decent enough impression. And then Hard Claw is kind of just like the Stone Cold opposite. It's just the best red 1-drop. He's a threat in a zone. He's a threat in multiples. And one thing that I've started to really appreciate about Hired Claw and Slickshot's 2 toughness is that when I have a Leyline out, Desperate Measures can kill these 2. Which is something that we often want to do in our deck with Desperate Measures and Turn Inside Out and Not Dead After All. This deck really rewards death. Death is not the end. Death generates value. And so, Hard Claws, a cool dude. He always has been. He probably always will be. And then Slickshot Show Off. You know, if you're here, I don't have to tell you about Slickshot Show Off. There's so many ways for Slickshot to be lethal on turn 3 with our bolts, our bulk ups, our burn togethers, our ley lines. Slickshot has plot, he has haste, he has flying. Slickshot's the goat. And Rot Curse Rakshasa is pretty insane. And honestly, you saw him perform pretty well throughout this video. I actually used the renew ability multiple times, which is a really cool like way to remove a creature. It doesn't kill it outright, but denying its ability to block and saying that it just gets sacrificed on the next attack um, is basically a removal spell for Leyline. Um, so that's quite cool. And then because he has Decayed, that means that he sacrifices himself at the end of combat. So as we saw, that's fantastic with Turn Inside Out and Desperate Measures. Um, and I'll just start talking about all these spells because, that's part of the reason he is so good. Not Dead After All as well as a way to get back my 2 mana 5/5 as a 2 mana 6/6. And the Wicked Roll is especially nice on Rot Curse because I know the next time I turn him sideways, he's going to kill himself. And so that Wicked Roll is going to deal an extra damage. The Trample's amazing. He just goes so well with Desperate Measures, Turn Inside Out. He's drawing me cards. He's making dudes. And because he's a 5/5 with Trample, he is dealing me damage. The one downside to Rakshasa is that because of that timing where he kills himself at the end of combat, Burn Together as a sorcery does not work. But that's part of the reason that we're playing a couple bulk ups, because bulk up does work. And one of the fun turn 3 kills with Rot Curse Rakshasa is all you need is Leyline, Rakshasa, and a bulk up, and that's lethal with just 2 mana. Rot Curse is a 5/5, so if bulk up is doubled by Leyline, 5/5 becomes 10 power, and 10 power becomes 20 power. So you just kill your opponent on the spot, which is always fun. That's the goal of the game, right? Get our opponent's life total to 0. So really cool stuff with that. Full Bore is also a staple of Leyline. It's our lightning bolt. It's another red lightning bolt. So Turn Inside Out is a lightning bolt. Full Bore is a lightning bolt. Turn Inside Out doesn't add toughness, but it adds that death trigger, which we take advantage of really well in this deck. We have Rot Curse, which kills itself. We have Sellsword as a 4 of because we're in Rakdos, and so he's both a creature and a spell, which is fantastic. And so, on the other hand, Full Bore, that +2 toughness is very relevant for the rest of our creatures. All of our red creatures, being able to save them from our opponent's shocks and torches and abrades and all those 2 and 3 damage removal spells without using a true protection spell is very nice. In addition to just being a spell that kills our opponent, since it's a lightning bolt that gets doubled by Leyline of Resonance. And then Desperate Measures, in addition to Rocket, like the reason that we're in black is these 2 cards. Desperate Measures is so cool. +1/-1. When it dies under my control, draw 2 cards. So a lot of really cool things. Obvious synergy with Rot Curse. It's also got synergy with Stadium Headliner, as we saw. After combat, you Desperate Measures the Mobilize token. You just 1 mana draw 2, which is fantastic. But it also pushes a little extra damage if you hit Slickshot or Hired Claw or Rakshasa with the Desperate Measures. You deal extra damage before you then draw cards off of it if you're flinging it or killing your creature with Desperate Measures. And that the scaling with Leyline is just insane. Like, if I have a Leyline and a Rakshasa and a Desperate Measures, I'm dealing 7 and drawing 4 cards on turn 3. Which is just nuts. Those guys playing Lessons are excited that they're casting Ancestral Recall, 1 mana draw 3. This is 1 mana draw 4. if I have one single Leyline. So I really, really love this card, and it's another way to potentially kill our creature to trigger turn inside out, outside of just depending on Sellsword to do that. And then it can also be a removal spell. This does kill Llanowar Elves out of the Cub deck. It can kill, a pesky Spyglass Siren that's threatening to chump block your Slick Shot. And you can just outright kill the creature. You target their creature and kill it with Desperate Measures. But you can also use Leyline to generate extra copies that you point at your opponent's creatures. Leyline cares that the original spell targets your creature, but it doesn't care where the copies go. So I had a scenario once where I Desperate Measures my Slick Shot, and then the copy killed a Spyglass Siren. So now my Slick Shot has 4 power, and then I cast Bulk Up and killed my opponent. 4 power becomes 6, then it gets doubled to 12, then gets doubled again to 24. So this was a really cool spot where the Desperate Measures gave extra damage and acted as a removal spell. Drawing 2 cards is really powerful. When you get to duplicate it, it's just insane. A lot of people like Might of the Meek in Leyline because they're like, ooh, if I have a Leyline, I get to draw 2 cards or 3 cards. But the base rate is so medium. Drawing 1 card and just giving your creature trample. Here, Desperate Measures, my base rate is 2 cards, and so that just scales really, really aggressively when I have Leylines. And Not Dead After All is a spot that's in competition right now, but Bulk Up has been really great. I've really enjoyed that. 2 mana is a hefty cost, but it's a powerful effect, especially with Rakshasa in the deck. So I've really liked that. And then Sellsword we didn't talk about too much, but the big draw here is that I get to play 4 and not blink. The problem with Sellsword in Gruul or Boros or Mono Red is that you're not casting the creature unless you have your starting town. And if you're not playing starting town, you're just never casting the creature. With Rakdos, he's just always a creature. So instead of only playing 2 or 3 copies, since it's a spell that only has text when I have a bunch of other good spells, we can just confidently jam 4 because sometimes you just play a Sellsword. And it's fine. It's a body to carry all these different buffs that we cast. So, yeah, the last card, Not Dead After All. This is competing with Wild Ride at the moment. They're both, buff spells that are more utility spells than straight damage. Wild Ride is a bolt, but it's sorcery speed. It gives haste, which is really cool. Wild Ride, I think, at a glance, is definitely the better spell, just because we love damage. But Not Dead After All has been pretty cool so far. It's very cool with Rakshasa. It's very cool given that we are playing the full 4 Sellswords, and that we also like to kill our creatures with Desperate Measures sometimes. We did see it get resolved in one of our games, and it's a cool card. I like it so far. I'm going to keep testing it. And then sideboard, I won't really talk about too much. You heard me say less is more with Leyline. You really don't want to overboard. That's probably the most important thing, is don't overboard. So I'm keeping a simple 3x5. I think Duress, Soul Guide Lantern, and Torpor Orb are all pretty locked. Lantern for the Graveyard combo, Orb for the Airbending combo, Duress for the hyper interactive decks. And then, at the moment I'm playing Requiting Hex for aggro decks and Preacher for classic grindy decks, more of mid-range decks. Maybe against control decks. Not Dead After All could make its way to the sideboard if I bring back Wild Ride. There's a lot that could change. But this is kind of a boring, stable sideboard that lets me sprinkle in some relevant tools against the best decks. So yeah, that's a breakdown of my card choices with Rakdos Leyline and a little bit about how the deck functions. Alright, well, if you made it this far, thanks a lot. Don't forget to like and subscribe, check out Metafy, and I'll see you at the next one.